the studio, guys. We're here with none other than Jim Du, wealth management expert who specializes in helping entrepreneurs grow their business and protect their assets. So today we're going to talk about everybody's favorite topic, taxes. Now let me read you an interesting stat. In 2021, 56 million people filed with TurboTax. And that's out of, 78 million households in the world. So, and depending on whether they were filing separately or jointly, that's about half of all people are filing with TurboTax. Now, Jim, are there advantages or disadvantages to filing with TurboTax? What are your kind of thoughts on these do-it-yourself kind of platforms?
It's a great question, and I think it depends, like most questions. If your tax return is really simple and easy to do, TurboTax or the software like it that's out there could be the perfect solution for you. But if you're a business owner, entrepreneur, likely having a good CPA is going to give you huge benefits over the years, both from filing the returns, but even more importantly, from giving you advice on how to grow your business and how to avoid taxes.
Interesting. So how do you find a good CPA and what kind of advantages do they give you?
It's not easy. Just like any profession, there are good CPAs and bad CPAs, and you want to make sure you find the right CPA for you. Most CPAs are what I would call tax historians. They put all the information in the forms, they file them for you, but what you really need as a business owner is a tax planner. A CPA who is looking forward, not backward, helping you based on your situation pay the least amount of taxes legally possible. Now, of course, it's not easy to find a good CPA, so I do have some tips for doing that. The first thing is ask friends of yours, but not any friends. So if you're an entrepreneur business owner, don't ask your friend who's a W-2 wage earner, because that CPA is probably not going to be the right CPA for you. So ask friends of yours who are also entrepreneur business owners. Ask people who are like you for their CPA and who they're using. Also ask other professionals. So if you have a great attorney, you have a great insurance agent, have a great investment advisor, if you have someone you respect, a professional, ask that professional who they know who's really good in working with clients like you. Also, don't limit your geographic area. A lot of times people, when they're looking for a CPA, they want someone that they can drive 2 blocks, pull up, sit down in their office. That may not be the best CPA, so don't limit yourself geographically, and don't just date one. If you were dating to get married, I would say you wouldn't want to just date one person and hope that's the right person. You want to date multiple people and find the one to marry. Same thing. Date multiple CPAs to find the one that's right for you.
Interesting. And I guess the interesting thing about CPAs is, like you said, the CPA at its best is someone that's advising you on tax strategy, because if they're just looking backward, you can do that yourself on any of these online platforms, right? CPAs often will tell you things that you don't know. And so how do you know that the CPA can fulfill on something that you hadn't even heard about? Because I've heard of CPAs like messing up really complicated strategies like, backdoor IRAs or whatever it is. How do you know and manage someone and trust someone to do something that they're the ones telling you about it in the first place? Does that make sense?
It does make sense. And there's a couple of things that I think about with what you just mentioned. So one is, if you are doing something complicated that you don't understand, it's okay to get a second opinion. You can ask another CPA to look at what your CPA is recommending and how your CPA is doing it. There's nothing wrong with that. It's often we get second opinions from doctors. Get a second opinion from your CPA. The other thing is you can avoid a lot of problems by doing the due diligence up front before you work with a CPA. So there's 5 areas that I tell people to look at when they're hiring a CPA. So the first is going to the regulatory history of that CPA. So going to the State Board of Accountancy, going to the associations that CPAs belong to look at the regulatory histories. Do they have complaints? Do they have problems? That would be one good clue. Second, you want to look at their education and their credentials. How educated are they? When did they get their CPA? Where did they go to college? Those things are important. Third, you want to look at the CPA's experience. So how long have they been in the business? What types of clients do they work with? Which leads us to number 4, which is specialization. Does that CPA specialize and work with clients just like you? And then 5, the 5th thing to look for when you're hiring a CPA is personality and follow-through. Follow-through starts the minute you call that office or send an email or reach out. How responsive is that office? Because if that office isn't responsive while they're trying to get you as a new client, don't expect that they're going to be responsive later. And then what's the personality like? Can you work with this person? Do you feel like you communicate well with the CPA? But there's one danger in that is I want to make sure that you don't find someone just like you. There's a great book about Abraham Lincoln called team of rivals. And one thing that Lincoln did that I haven't seen any president do in the modern era, which I wish they would listen to this, is he put people in his cabinet who had different philosophies, who disagreed, who didn't like each other, because he thought that healthy debate would create better results with things that came out of the office as President of the United States. Same thing's true. When you build your team, you want to make sure that you can communicate with your CPA, that you understand each other, but don't hire everyone on your team to be just like you, because that's a recipe for disaster. Make sure that you have different philosophies and different perspectives so that you as a business owner can get the best results.
No, that makes a lot of sense, because some CPAs are pretty aggressive and searching through the tax code to find certain ways to find tax advantageous situations and write-offs that you can have, while other CPAs tend to be a little bit more conservative. So finding someone that balances with your personality can help a lot.
And I think that's a good question that I always tell people to ask a potential CPA is, what's your philosophy around tax planning? As you said, if you're aggressive and they're not, or they're aggressive and you're not, you could have a problem. I would also ask the CPA, what 3 things can you think of that you did in the last 12 months to help a client legally save taxes? You want to challenge them to tell you what value are they adding to other clients. And I would also give them your last couple of years' tax returns, and I would say, I'm going to pay you your hourly fee. Would you go through these and tell me what, if anything, would you have done differently? That's also a way to really see how do they work and how to do their tax planning. And last question, this is a really important one. What's your process for tax planning? So if they say, what do you mean? That means they don't have a process. What does a process look like? They might say, well, first I always meet in July because I have 6 months of P&Ls with the business owner. We map out the tactics and strategies that we're going to implement by year end. We're going to revisit in the fall, maybe September, October, to finalize those strategies, put them into force, implement them, and then we revisit after the tax return is done to say what worked, what didn't, and what can we do next to save you even more in taxes.
Awesome. These are I'd love how concrete these tips are. And if you guys have any other questions, we'll drop a link down below so you can contact our team. Thanks for watching, and we will see you guys on the next one.